Alert 4 investigates learning about a possible threat to your safety. A juvenile recently escaped from a St. Louis County detention center, but no one knew about the escape until the teen was arrested, suspected of committing even more crimes. Chief Investigative Reporter Lauren Traeger is digging into the issue and what can be done to fix it.
I've been pressing for answers about how many kids have escaped state detention facilities. In fact, we've been looking at all questions in the juvenile justice system in our ongoing series, Kids or Criminals? Questions that could be front and center when lawmakers return to Jefferson City in just a few weeks.
You could still have somebody who's been committing crimes, even drug crimes, violent crimes, since they were 12 years old.
State Senator Nick Shore from St. Charles County is one of several lawmakers proposing new laws aimed at Missouri's juvenile justice system.
We're requiring that you look collectively at all of the available crimes that a prosecutor could charge to see if they should be held, and then even look back to see what other crimes have they committed in recent days.
In recent months, several high-profile crimes have sparked renewed interest in the question of whether juveniles should be treated as kids or as criminals. Over the summer, a series of carjackings on rideshare drivers led some local police to call for reform to what is known as the point system, a score sheet to determine if juveniles should be detained in county juvie centers upon arrest. Just this month, 16-year-old Jalen Evans was certified to stand trial as an adult for robbery and other charges related to those carjackings. Earlier this month, too, St. Louis police arrested a 16-year-old who they say had been referred to the juvenile system 19 times. He had escaped November 24th from this facility in Bellefontaine Neighbors, a juvenile detention center run by the state for teens who have already been found responsible for their crimes. But the public was never notified of the escape. The state telling First Alert 4 investigates that was due to the confidentiality of youth in the care of the Division of Youth Services, or DYS.
Do you think that they should be obligated to inform the public when they've had a juvenile abscond from their custody?
I think so, 100%. And there's a way to do so without, exposing this kid's previous record. But ultimately, if it is a harm to society, I think that we as legislators need to make the essential changes to see to it that all of the individuals around that area, all of the Missourians that are living in that area, their safety is at risk.
First Alert 4 Investigates has covered other escapes from that same state facility, as well as one in the city located on Hogan Street. In 2023, DYS announced its plans to close it and build a new juvenile center in the county, but that's still years away. We asked them for information on escapes. In November 2025, Missouri documented 4 juveniles escaping custody statewide, but DYS could not say where, again, due to confidentiality, telling us 3 have returned to custody.
Sometimes that kid's own life is at risk because if somebody breaks into my house, I can tell you right now, I'm defending my family's life with everything that I've got. And a lot of Missourians that I talk to have said if a kid breaks out, we don't know what he looks like or she. We don't know what they've done.
DYS telling First Alert 4 investigates they work closely with law enforcement along with families and community partners to safely locate runaway youth. Senator Shore says he supports more transparency and wants to take a closer look at DYS.
And it's not just throwing money at the problem, because I know a lot of these government agencies say we just need more money. And every time we give them more money, we see bigger problems.
In addition to the senator's proposals, other lawmakers are specifically eyeing that point system, and one is looking to put together a juvenile justice task force. All tell me that question of kids or criminals requires a lot of nuance, balancing the best ways to get kids on the right path while maintaining everyone's safety. It's an issue we will certainly continue to track. I'm Lauren Traeger, First Alert 4 Investigates.